how you grow. You go from one thing to the next. One isn't better than the other. It's just different. And I enjoyed it fully and completely for years. And it was just sort of at the end where it just ran out of steam and I needed something different. And I think this is what happens to a lot of people. They find something they really love to do and then it sort of fades with time. And when you're curious and open and remember what you used to love as a kid and you're in touch with your heart and you know what brings you joy, you can nicely move into the next flowing state. Whatever makes you feel timeless, whatever puts you in the position where you don't even know that time has passed is something that's probably going to be a passion for you and give you purpose. So you have to notice what you notice, but it means you have to be present. And you need to be curious and open your whole life. Because life is like a smorgasbord. It's like a treasure hunt. And when you put your attention on positive things and the feeling that life really is a treasure hunt, you're always looking for that opening. You're looking for something you're going to love. You're going to notice. You're going to want to be involved in. Whether that's a political party, who knows, or helping a school, or going to Africa and setting up fresh water for people that don't have it, digging wells, whatever.
Life's big questions don't come with instructions, but they do come with clues. The Whole of Movement Purpose Lab is where we follow them together. Join a team forming this fall at ourlightnet.org/purpose. Hi, my name is Zenka Caro. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. I am here today with Dr. Marion Ross. She is co-founder of Shift Your Life, and she is part of the dynamic duo that calls themselves the Shift Doctors on TikTok and more. She is an incredible person that has spent 35 years in the licensing world, working with brands such as Adidas, Elle, Mack Trucks, Snap-on Tools, you name it. But she had an experience in her life that called her to become a healer. She has then gotten her doctorate degree in holistic healing, metaphysics, and transpersonal psychology. She also has certifications in mind-body health, qigong, and many other things because she's incredibly brilliant and very curious. She has co-authored 5 books, including Bye Bye Self-Sabotage, Drop Your Baggage, Love Your Life, and Shift, A Woman's Guide to Transformation, The Mystical World of Mentora Art, and more. She also offers online courses, energy healings, and membership at Shift Your Life. And she really is helping us get out of this self-sabotage and reach the transformational goals and the aspirations that we have in our lives.
I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my passion. I studied hard. I wanted to get into a great law school. Why? Because I wanted to right all the wrongs of all the injustices that were happening in the world. And that was in the 60s. So that was a great driving force which pushed me to get very well educated. But aside from that, I had a great passion for tennis. I played a lot of competitive tennis. When I went to college, I had a passion for skiing. I was on the ski team. I had multiple passions because I had a lot of curiosity. So I never focused on one thing. I focused on one thing at a time, but I had multiple passions. And then, as I was growing up and looking at what lawyers did, I decided they were a dime a dozen. And you could just fire a lawyer and hire another one. And who wanted to be that disposable and indispensable? So I set my sights on other things as I moved through my life. And after graduate school, I decided I wanted to save the world rather than be a lawyer. True. So I tried to get into the United Nations. There was a new part of the UN called UNDP, the UN Development Program, which was about feeding starving people in Africa, setting up education, fresh water. And I was really interested in getting involved in that. I'd studied developmental economics, and I thought I'd be good at it. So I interviewed at the UN, and they said, "You're American, we don't want Americans, forget it. This is about the developing world. We want people from Africa and Asia who are struggling and can help their comrades and brethren." I said, "Why don't you become a banker and then come back? Do something in finance so you can come back and be helpful in another way." So I ended up at the Bank of America, at the time the largest bank in the world. And I worked there for a year and a half, became an officer, and decided it was the most boring job I could ever have. But it led me to the next thing. I was very passionate about licensing patents and trademarks and designers. I really loved it because I was learning new businesses all the time. I was developing new businesses. It was extremely creative. And I was meeting people all over the world. I was traveling 200,000 miles a year. It was a wonderful distraction from feeling anything. It was the perfect passion. I was developing lots of new products and lots of new brands. And I felt very successful. And then at one point, I just felt empty. I was burned out when I was in my late 40s, and I started having shoulder problems. I had a frozen shoulder. And what did that mean? Who knows? I tried Celebrex, I tried all the drugs possible, and nothing would unfreeze my shoulder. And I was in Paris, and it was like 20 degrees out. I couldn't put my coat on because I couldn't put my arm through the arm of the coat. And I was walking around, and I ran into an old friend I hadn't seen for like 20 years. And I gave him a hug, and he said, "What kind of hug is that?" I said, "It's one when you have a frozen shoulder." And he said, "And you're not wearing your coat, it's freezing out." He said, "Look, I know you think I'm still an investment banker, but I became a healer." And I just laughed. "Sure, you became a healer." And he said, "I can help you with that frozen shoulder. Come on over tomorrow, make an appointment, and let's see what we can do." So I went over there. I was laying on a massage table. He was waving some tuning forks over me. We did a little bit of sound healing, and my shoulder was fine. This is after suffering for months. It was pretty interesting. He said, "Philippe, how did you do that?" He said, "You know, you're a healer. You should go where I went, and you should learn how to do it yourself. I don't want to keep healing you. You have to learn to heal yourself and understand what you've done to create the situation where your body has to tell you that it loves you so much that this is the symptom we're giving you. Wake up. It's a wake-up call, and you're lucky it's only your shoulder. So acknowledge it." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And I was traveling another 10,000 miles in the next 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later, the other shoulder froze. Well, there was no reason for the other shoulder to freeze because it wasn't my golf or tennis shoulder. But it just froze. I went back to Philippe, and he said, "You have to start dealing with your emotions. You just numb everything out, don't you?" And I said, "How would I know? If I'm numb, I'm numb. I don't know the difference between a thought and a feeling." And that really set me on my journey because I had to change my life. I figured out that I was distracting. I may have been very successful, but relationship-wise, things weren't working the way I wanted it to work, actually. It's what I created. I didn't understand how I created, how I got to the point that I was at where I had sore shoulders. So I went to the school called Delphi University. And at Delphi, I understood that I was a spiritual being in a body, and I was the great creator of everything that happened in my life, that had happened from the inside out. And when I started understanding that, I got so excited because everyone around me was numb. They were walking around deaf, dumb, and blind, and I wanted to help the world. And this became a great passion. So I would take a course, and then I would teach a course. And I loved it, but I never thought that I knew enough. So for 20 years, I've been taking different courses and working with different kinds of people that had, a resonance with different tools and techniques. And when they didn't have the resonance with the tools and techniques I had, I went out and learned something else. So it sounds a little crazy, but that's what drove me to be of service. And I was so lucky to be able to do that because it really filled my heart and I stopped being numb. So passion and purpose led to feeling, to getting into my heart, into staying very present and grounded in my life. 30 years ago, and why did I study Reiki? I was in Bali for a month and it rained every day. So there wasn't much to do. So I got my master's in scuba diving because you can scuba dive and go underwater when it's raining. And then I ran into a Reiki master. And the Reiki master was very interesting because his second job was to move the clouds for weddings. And he was hired by the Four Seasons and the Sheraton and all the top hotels to move the clouds. So amazing, right? So he was my Reiki master and I studied Reiki for a month. And then when I came back to the US, I continued studying Reiki and I became a Reiki master, Karuna Reiki, Fire Reiki, whatever. And it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't my profession. I was still doing licensing and doing Reiki, but it really helped a lot of people. And I'm not sure that it wasn't the Therapeutic Alliance at that time that helped people, or actually the Reiki, because most people don't get the attention they need and have someone who's patiently and presently listening to them. And when they do, great transformations happen because there's no such thing as a healer. You inspire people to heal themselves. Everyone has to do their own work. So it's the relationship between you and the person on the other side. So I learned that maybe 30 years ago with Reiki. And then I got interested in other things, like color and sound. I understood that if I painted my rooms yellow, which I did, I painted every room in my house yellow, that I was much more present, much more mental. I was already mental, but intellectually it really worked. And I had understood that in college because if I put a piece of yellow paper next to something I was studying, I would absorb it much faster and I'd retain it. So I got really interested in color. So color and sound healing were very important. And I understood that music in general either turned me on and made me very happy or peaceful or excited, or I hated it. So I understood the power of sound. So I started studying sound. But it was when I went to Delphi years later that I delved into it in a different way. So I started there, then I studied with Jonathan Golden, then I studied with a lot of different people because everyone had their own idea about it, but I wanted to have a broad spectrum. So that's just, there's just so many things you get passionate about, then you want to know more and more and more. And then you mix them all together and decide what you're going to use at any given point in time to help someone who needs it. And what are they going to resonate with? Because people think that their life is created out there. They have no plan, they have no program. They're not creating it from within. They're responding and reacting to everything that's happening to them. So if you ask someone who's 16 or 17, how did you become the way you are now with the thoughts and the beliefs that you have about yourself and the world? What do you want going forward? They have no idea. They have no awareness. They're usually not grounded and they're not present. They're just reacting to everything. And from a very young age, you create all of these scripts. You create patterns. And patterns are things that you do that you just don't know you're doing. They just happen. And when you start understanding and acknowledging your patterns, you can make choices. So I think most of these people aren't even thinking about making choices. They're just reacting. And again, they're not grounded. They're all over the place. And they live from monkey mind. They have so much going on and they're living in their phones. They're living in virtual reality. I don't know where they're living, but they're not living in their bodies. And they don't understand who they are. So how can they understand what they believe? When I was going to Delphi, I had friends that would be looking up the course I was taking online, which I never did. I just kept doing the next course, and saying, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? You're doing this like Rohan, this psycho-spiritual therapy that's looking into the dark side of everything you've ever lived or experienced in every one of your lifetimes. What kind of school is this? Why are you going there? Why are you wasting your time?" Yeah, of course. Yeah, people criticize me. I've lost a lot of relationships because I became spiritual, which means I woke up and became aware. And others didn't want to go there. They found it too threatening. Yeah, it happens. But people, you don't dump people. They dump you because you don't have the same things in common. And maybe you don't want to continue listening to them complain and be negative anymore. There are only a few inches between your heart and your head, but most people are thinking from the head to their heart. To know what you really want and how you want to create, you have to feel it. You want to follow your feelings. When I ask someone to create a plan for their life, I don't say, think about what you want. I say, feel how you want it. What's the feeling you want to have going forward? And then what can you do to get there? So they have to get into their heart, and it's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to do. Because there has to be a proper proportion between thoughts and feelings, between what we call in Chinese medicine, your middle dantian, your heart area, and your brain, which is wisdom. If you have too much heart and not enough wisdom, you're going to get in trouble. And if you have too much wisdom and no heart whatsoever, like some generals and other figures in our society right now, you get in trouble too. So you have to be balanced. Well, I don't know what my passions were. I love tennis, I love golf, and I used to teach it too. I mean, not only played it, I taught it, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was a passion. Your passion doesn't have to be what you do for a living. You can love painting and not be a professional painter. You can just paint and be very successful and maybe sell something, but it doesn't have to be the way you make a living. So passion could be sprinklings of a lot of different things around what you're doing for work. There's no question. This is how you grow. You go from one thing to the next. One isn't better than the other. It's just different. And I enjoyed it fully and completely for years. And it was just sort of at the end where it just ran out of steam and I needed something different. And I think this is what happens to a lot of people. They find something they really love to do and then it sort of fades with time. And when you're curious and open and remember what you used to love as a kid and you're in touch with your heart, you know what brings you joy, you can nicely move into the next flowing state. Whatever makes you feel timeless, whatever puts you in the position where you don't even know that time has passed, is something that's probably going to be a passion for you and give you purpose. So you have to notice what you notice, but it means you have to be present. And you need to be curious and open your whole life. Because life is like a smorgasbord. It's like a treasure hunt. And when you put your attention on positive things and the feeling that life really is a treasure hunt, you're always looking for that opening. You're looking for something you're going to love. You're going to notice. You're going to want to be involved in. Whether that's a political party, who knows, or helping a school, or going to Africa and setting up fresh water for people that don't have it, digging wells, whatever. When you're open to it and when you talk to a lot of people and read about things, you get excited. It's about following that excitement and dumping the negativity in your life. So you get what you focus on, and the more you focus on it, the more you get. Your energy goes where your attention flows. So as long as people are attentive and their intent is to live a life of passion, which not everyone's intent is, they'll get there. But it has to come from the heart, not the head. For people that aren't feeling successful on the road to their true passion, I would say, first of all, get grounded. Understand what you want. Understand your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about others, and what's possible for you to do. Make a list of your gifts and abilities, or what you perceive as your gifts and abilities. And then feel how you can best accomplish anything in life using those gifts and abilities. And ask yourself, what brings me joy? What gets me out of bed in the morning? What are those thoughts? What are those beliefs? What are those feelings? And pursue that. And if someone has no idea whatsoever, I say, when you get out of bed in the morning and you have a choice of 5 different things to do what you love. Do what brings you the most joy, or what you perceive will be the best option. And then go from there. Go from one little step to the next. Start reading, start living, start talking to people. Open yourself, be curious. Get out there. There's always frustrations. The road to great passion and purpose is not linear. It's got a lot of dips. And those dips are where you really learn something about yourself, because we're in the earth school. It's all about lessons. And those dips are about understanding, even through negativity, things that don't happen for you, that there's a gift in it. You look at the cosmic picture. What am I learning at this point? What do I need to adjust? Am I having synchronicities in a negative way or in a positive way? You have to learn to read the signposts, which means you have to awaken your awareness. Very important. And be the observer of your thoughts and emotions. So if things aren't working out for you, what's your attitude? Why aren't they working out? What are you feeling about this? Where are those feelings taking you? Can you say cancel, cancel to the thoughts that are creating those feelings and turning them around into positive emotions? Because you can, you have to learn how. So maybe it's a passion for learning that you need to get before you get to your next passion. You have to learn how to create. You have to learn how to know what belief systems you want to follow. Because if you want to change, you have to change your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world, the way you think, the way you react, why you react. Am I making choices now from the present moment, or am I making them from all the scripts from my childhood? It's a lot of factors. And this is life. It's not just finding your passion, it's finding your direction. And you find your direction, hopefully, by creating your direction and not letting the outside world slam you in the face and say, you know, you're at a dead end here. You better do what opportunity's in front of your nose at this moment. It's not true. We're great creators. It depends on our attitude, our awareness, and our talent for getting to the bottom of things, to what we really want. Right. The worst thing a healer can say is that they heal people, because you don't. I mean, yesterday I had a stage 4 person with cancer, multiple cancers. 2 of her kids tried to commit suicide last year. She was a total mess. How could I heal her? You have to give her the tools. I worked with her for 2 hours and gave her a bunch of tools, and she felt great afterwards. Which is nice, because she can understand that she could feel better than the state she was in when we started. But if she doesn't continue using those tools, nothing's going to happen. So as a healer, you can show them the way, but they have to do the work. I'm sorry, I've talked to people that think, boom, 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 you're healed. And then they just think the same thoughts that created the situation in the first place, and they're back to square one. Why am I passionate about it? Because if everyone did it, the world would be a fantastic place. It would be positive, it would be joyful. People wouldn't be focusing on the negative and recreating the negative in their lives on a continual basis. They'd be able to be in relationships that are loving and joyful instead of competitive and looking for negativity and judging and having to be better than everyone else. When you know who you are and you understand your gifts and abilities, then you really want to be of service. Then how can you best be of service? And then if you want to talk about oneness, okay, but even as an individual, which is part of a collective, you're a drop in the ocean, you want to clean up the ocean. This drop wants to help clean up the ocean. Because that's what we're living in. And every thought we think goes out to the universe. It's not just our own thoughts. I say cancel, cancel, and I know that you can train your brain, that your brain doesn't know the difference between a lie and the truth. So I just keep repeating what I think is where I want to go, what I feel is where I want to go. And I tell myself empowering statements until I repeat them enough that I believe them. And then my brain believes them, and then that's what I'm going to attract. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And of course, I always say that it's already done and I step into it, because your brain also likes to be right. So if you say this is going to be in my future, it'll never happen in the now. It's always going to be in the future, and it won't happen. So that's how we teach creation. But you're an unlimited being. You're only limited by your imagination, because you have all the tools within. It's about accessing the tools within. And that's what creating from within means, accessing all the gifts and abilities you have, because you have the whole universe within. But how do you get there? How do you access it? First, you have to get out of monkey mind. Then you have to believe you can do it. Then you have to meditate, do qigong, whatever that technique or tool is, to get into the space where you can access everything. And everyone has a different go-to, but it takes persistence and it takes will. I've never accessed everything. I've just accessed what I wanted to access. I mean, the world is like your oyster. You feel unlimited. The only person who can block you is you. We're not on camera, are we?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, the only one who can block you is you, yourself. No one can block you. Once you get into the state of flow, and it takes me, I can meditate 3 minutes a day and get what I need. Or the other thing I do is, before I go to sleep, I set an intention. And the intention is to solve a problem, or I want to go within and find XYZ. And usually in the morning, I will have an idea about XYZ, or I'll wake up in the middle of the night. So intention is very, very important. Hopefully a positive effect. I think I help to empower people to be the best they can be. I don't heal people, I empower them to take care of themselves, to heal themselves, and to understand that they are great creators. And there's nothing to stop them but themselves. That's it. Everyone is just as powerful as everyone else. It just depends on how you want to create. If every thought you think has a great impact and it goes out to the universe, think about the billions of thoughts. If we think 70,000 thoughts a day, how are we contributing to the collective consciousness? Because we're all contributing at every moment with every thought. You don't even have to utter a word.
If this episode sparked something inside of you, consider joining a Holo Movement Purpose Lab team starting this September. The world needs you to bring something that only you can, and you weren't meant to figure this out alone. Join us.